good glass of wine can bring people together. It can spark conversation. And in 1972, it forged a new relationship between China and the United States.
The Chinese people are a great people.
President Nixon went to China for the first time in 1972, and he brought a bottle of Napa Valley along for his trip.
In what is now known as the Toast to Peace, President Nixon and Premier Zhou Enlai drank a glass of sparkling Napa Valley wine. The Schremsberg Blanc de Blanc led to the first diplomatic conversations in 25 years and inspired China to start making wine of their own.
National Light Industry created this wine research group and chose my grandfather to be the leader of this group, and he learned winemaking in France.
Grape wine in China had never been made before on a large scale, so Premier Zhou enlisted the help of Xin's grandfather, Shen Jidian.
And he's the first red wine winemaker in China, and produced the first bottle of red wine in back to 1970s.
Thanks to the work Xin's grandfather did in the 1970s, winemaking has become a multi-billion-dollar industry in China. His palate shaped the way that wine tastes in his country. Now, Xin is working to introduce the Chinese palate to Napa under her label called 70s Love.
My grandfather is at 70s, so I named my wine 70s Love.
Since Xin was a little girl, she had been following in her grandfather's footsteps.
And instead of going to kindergarten, my job is to stay in the cave, lifting the bones from the barrels.
In college, she went to UC Davis to learn about the science behind Western winemaking.
A good winemaker is a scientific artist. So a big part of our job is scientist, and a big part of our job is artist.
For Xin, the science and art are blended together by using both her Chinese and American palate. She says her wine pairs well with the spicy plant-based Chinese diet and the fatty meat-heavy American diets.
Because I'm making wine here in Napa Valley, so I'm not making a Chinese-style wine. I'm still making wines that are reflecting Napa.
Yes, Xin's wine is a Napa wine, but it has a Chinese influence, an influence that is not new to the Napa and Sonoma County region.
A part of Napa winemaking history has Chinese involved in the very early and the beginning stage.
Following California's gold rush, Chinese laborers planted many of the early vineyards and dug many of the early wine caves. Ultimately, most of those laborers were pushed out during the Chinese Exclusion Act in the 1880s, but Xin says more than a century later, Chinese students are getting back into the California wine industry.
I graduated from UC Davis, and I can see more and more Chinese students come to UC Davis, study winemaking and viticulture and enology, and I'm happy to see more faces from Asian countries.
As it did in 1972, wine helped open a dialogue between two nations. Today, Xin hopes her wine can do the same.
How to say this? I want to build a bridge between the two countries.
From the vineyards of St. Helena, I'm John Bartel.